Hi everyone, this is Devleena, your host, and I welcome all of you once again to another exciting episode of Icons Behind Brand. I'm so excited to welcome our guest for today, Mr. Kiran Giradkar, who is the Chief Marketing and Communication Officer at Nilon's Enterprises Private Limited. With over 19 years of experience, Mr. Kiran has worked with various big brands including Bisleri, Bajaj Consumer Care, Storia Food and Beverages, and I am so happy to have you here, Mr. Kiran. A warm welcome to you at Icons Behind Brands.
Thank you very much, Devleena. A pleasure is all mine. Looking forward to learn a lot from you.
Yeah, and same, Mr. Kiran, I'm very excited. The reason being, you have worked with a lot of FMCG brands, food and beverage segments, and this is one of the segment from where there are many marketing managers. They find it challenging. This is altogether a different segment. So before I get into the actual subject, I would love to know about you first, your journey and background so far, and from there we will take it forward.
Great, Devleena. Just to start with, let me say that we all are marketers. We all are consumers. Okay. The world is like this. Each and every person living on this earth is a consumer. What happens is there is nothing great to be, working on one side of the business, etc. As long as you know the consumers. If I really go back to my childhood journeys, I have a very, very clear memories about watching Doordarshan. We all have grown watching Doordarshan because thank God that at that time it was just one channel. There was no problem of plenty. So I remember my childhood with lots of serials which I used to consume, content I used to consume, very, very nice content on Doordarshan.
That's
And
right.
when I'm talking about you, I'm not talking about just the real content. I mean, the advertisement is one thing which was quite fascinating. I
Very true.
remember Nirma ki ads or Vico ki ads or Bajaj, Hamara Bajaj ka ads, etc., etc.
Yes, yes.
While my parents were quite fascinated to see the actual content, we as a kid were quite fascinated with the advertisement itself.
Very true.
And that is where we started understanding why this concept of advertising or communication actually comes into picture. Okay, and we all have been consuming all those products, being very, very, very lucky to be ending up with the working on brands which are FMCG brand.
Hmm.
So that is where journey started, and I have very, very clear memories about I being very, very if you talk about my credentials at the schools, I was not a very good student, but at least in terms of creativity, in terms of drawing, etc., I was fairly better. So people used to call me, you're at least creative.
Wow.
So if you
But at
connect
least
these dots, if you connect these dots, then I think that I am fairly pursuing my hobbies and passion, etc., in the correct field. So
wow.
that is how my journey started here after 20 years into this business of FMCG marketing, etc. I think that life has actually completed a full circle. Okay,
Hmm.
you started consuming those ads, you started consuming those products right from the beginning, and now you are actually marketing those. So
Hmm.
that's how it is. Come from a very benign background. Come from a city of Nagpur. Was brought up in a middle class family. My
Hmm.
parents were school teachers. Okay, but that's a good thing to have because when you are marketing to the country like India, which is fairly middle class, okay,
Yeah.
and you get lots of insights and stories, hinterland. You can relate to
Hmm.
them, and when you
Hmm.
market, you can market to sensibilities of the consumers at large. So
Right.
that's also the added advantage in my career because if you see the brands like Bisleri, brands like Nilons or Storia Foods or even
Hmm.
Bajaj or Camlin, these
Yeah.
are mass brands. The
Yeah.
mass brands and the consumer at large is consuming at hinterlands apart from
Hmm.
metros. So the focus from the metros actually it should not be limited to the metros etc. Which I find sometimes in my team when I have the teams who have people are born and brought up in Bombay. Okay, they have limitation in understanding some insights. Okay, how the media goes, how the communication goes, how it is pursued, how it is accepted by those people, etc. So
So
there
true.
you get a age. So while some people might see that this is a disadvantage, but I feel spending half of your life into the tier two town and half into the tier one or metro town actually is a very, very good advantage for me as a marketer.
And also there is an advantage to born and brought up in tier 2 cities. You understand the psychology, you understand the
Absolutely.
level of a very different segment, and then now that you have got a privilege to be in a metro cities, So you know how it works, what are the pros and cons, and that's how you take, as a marketer, you take the advantage of it and you go ahead, right? Amazing insights. Kiran, from here we will take a shift into the FMCG segment, which is one of my favorite subject. So how does, as a brand strategy, how does the FMCG brand strategies are different from other brand strategies? If you just I mean, take some of the examples of other industries, what are the major challenges in FMCG brand in Indian market?
India market is a very different market. I mean, it is
Right.
not 28 states, it's actually 28 different countries altogether.
Very
So
true.
when you talk about FMCG by very nature, it is consumed at a very large extent. Unfortunately, there are lots of options to the consumers as well. So what is happening is when a consumer is consuming and interacting with your brand on a daily basis, you got to be updated to the knowledge of the consumer. What are the needs, and what are the gaps available? Because consumer is ever changing, and
Mhm.
we as a brand also need to change and adapt to their needs. Now that's a fundamental difference of when you marketing FMCG as compared to FMCD. In
Mhm.
consumer durables, okay, you need to map their changes, etc., but not to that regular level. Even the purchase
Yeah.
is not happening that frequently. Now that's a fundamental challenge, because and it is even in FMCG, what is happening is the entry barrier for the companies to come in is very less. That's why you will see that there's a lot of competition in most of the products. So what is happening is, because of that, to stand out in this competition and to adapt to their ever changing needs is a challenge, especially in a country like India,
Mhm.
because the width and breadth of the country, the length and breadth of the country is so huge. And
Yeah.
adding to that is the different sensibilities. It is not a one homogeneous segment. The southern India is a different part altogether. Within the southern India, the four different states are altogether different. Their psychologies are different, their habits are different. Okay,
Yes.
so that's a fundamental challenge, to keep updated with the consumer and to satisfy the needs, especially in a very low entry barrier kind of things. So that's why you will see that there are lots of local products, there are lots of spurious products, there are lot of substitutes available to the consumers. So that's one challenge. If you really come see FMCG for a marketer, there are two things which are needed. Ultimately, क्या होता है? You have to make your product available. At the same time, you have to advertise, you have to make it awareness. So FMCG, if I want to put an equation, it is just awareness multiplied by availability. You can have more awareness but less availability, then you might not make much of a sense to consumer. If you have more availability but less of awareness, you will not make much sense. So it is a multiplication factor. So in FMCG, specifically when it comes to India, where 95% of your transaction actually happening through general trade, where consumer does, I mean, the retailer actually is pushing most of the products, the awareness actually makes most of the sense.
And these are two very compact point which you have shared, Kiran. Awareness, which is, awareness is nothing but how you are taking care of your branding, and how you are creating stories in your consumer's mind,
Yeah.
and how the consumer can perceive your brand. So the awareness comes under this. And of course, availability, how conveniently it is available for the consumer. These are very vast, I mean, but you have just summarized it to 2 points, and these are on point, right? So thank you for sharing this with us. At the same time, while you were talking about the awareness and availability for Indian market, this question came into my mind, that how, see, FMCG brand, you are dealing with the masses, right? So how your strategies are different in like tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, and places. So how differently you strategize into that?
So, as I said, if you really make a matrix, which is the markets and these two things. For instance, if I'm talking about the metros and the tier two cities or tier one towns, etc., on one side you have the awareness and availability. You can clearly pinpoint, if you are talking about metros, then availability wise, you better concentrate on modern trade or your e-commerce, etc., etc. Okay, awareness wise, you don't need to take a mass market, etc. If this consumer who is into metro is consuming on a small screen, you better target your ads on a small screen, maybe digital, etc. So that is what we are doing. When it comes to rural market or the tier 2, etc., your metric shows that availability has to be into the GT market. Okay, and in by the very nature of Indian geography, if you can't reach by your self distribution, then I need to open up a new distribution channels, maybe a wholesaler channel or the channels into the sub-stockists, etc., etc. So there are various strategies to go to the market. When it comes to awareness, obviously you have to touch base with what they are consuming. Their typical media habits might be mass television, or they might be consuming lots of print, etc. Even our salespeople are the endorsers, and they have lots of activations actually happening. So activations and the wall paintings, etc., for the actual tier 2 markets might actually work. So there are various tools. So if you concentrate on these metrics, then you know where you want to put your money and how do you want to go. So it's very clear. You just need to check this too and map it to the markets. Similarly, these metrics can also work when it comes to the products. There are certain products which are for the metro market or for the new age audience, etc., which also, when I say new age audience, they also lie into the Bihars and Jharkhands of the world. Okay, so then if for this new age product and the market, etc., you have to utilize those kind of the media, etc. So digital might also work in the Jharkhand for those kind of product. Not for the pickles, but for the pastas, we use digital marketing.
From here, I would like to talk about the packaging, which is one of the crucial part of FMCG brand. So if you just throw some light on this part, how does packaging promote a product, and if packaging has any impact on the FMCG industry or not?
Brands are nothing but persons. There is a persona behind every brand. If you're talking about the people, okay, what Devleena is, what Kiran is, basically is because of the packaging. How do I dress up? What do I talk? Okay, how do I look? How do I interact? What is my persona? What is your persona? That's quite interesting. So that is how that goes same with even not just FMCG, for any of the industry, because the products and services, they should have some kind of an imagery attached to it. Thankfully, in FMCG, because the transactions are very high and the consumption levels are quite often, people interact with your brand more than your communication or anything else. For example, if you have bought toothpaste or your any spices or any FMCG product, you interact with it on daily basis. So consumer is actually holding your packaging all the time. So here it becomes very critical element of advertising as well. Most of the time, most of the people do not utilize packaging as an advertising, but we cross promote our products on the packaging as well. It creates a lot of impact and people connect emotionally with the packaging. There are the brands which are launched only on the basis of the convenience which is offered through packaging. For instance, if you talk about Kinder Joy, now among the plethora of so many, candies and chocolates and everything available, the simple insight that the kids consume toys as well as chocolates and etc. If you just combine these two with the product which is quite unique, it's an amazing example how the entire brand is being made.
Oh, yeah.
With this simple insight, where the packaging actually is driving the entire sales, etc. That's very interesting. So I'm talking about the structure.
Would you like to share some key points for the new age FMCG owners, I mean business owners, while packaging? What points should they take care of, while creating a good packaging?
If you're fortunate enough to start a new category, you have very good chances of making to the good packaging. But if you're unfortunate and if you're fighting the so many people, etc., in an existing category, then you don't have any option left but to come up with a unique packaging. Because more often than not, you'll be limited with the monies. Okay, even if you communicate a lot and if you are the 10th person in the category, then you do not have any option. You just can't go with a similar kind of the packaging in terms of the structure or the communication or the look and feel, etc. Because that's a suicide. Why should somebody notice you? Unless you're targeting your product on a D2C or unless you're targeting your product with modern trade sale. And that too, when you're putting in modern trade, it comes with the cost of the trade cost, etc. So for the, I mean, it's a given thing now that your differentiation starts right from the, not just the product, but the packaging to communication to the execution to the channels, etc. So every level of value chain for the product, it has to stand out. It has to stand out and create some kind of a shock to the consumer so that consumer notices it.
So when I say, you when you get powers, you also get responsibility, and at the same time, you also have tough moments. So as a CMO, what was your toughest moment?
There are lots, yeah, there are lots. But as a CMO, see, marketing is about, as I said, creating awareness and storytelling, etc. So most of the time when we are limited with the funds, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes very very tough, challenging situation for the CMO, because
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? You don't have money to spend, etc. How do you create stories? How do you communicate? How do you go to market, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So same kind of similar situation actually happens when happened when I was with Storia. Okay, it's a
Okay.
small brand. It's about 50 odd crores brand.
Mm-hmm.
The monies in the marketing were limited.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a challenge. How do you communicate? So sometimes with this limited budget, etc., you have to create a stunts, okay,
Mm-hmm.
marketing stunts, etc. I mean, you may call it gorilla, you may call it
Okay.
the ambush or whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
sometimes have to be very very smart in communicating, etc. So one
Mm-hmm.
instance was that we created the communication about Storia milkshakes, which was
Mm-hmm.
about wish India's highest food content shakes, which I it never gets over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the strategy, the stunt was that it
Mm-hmm.
was a parody on, the existing people, etc. So one of the
Okay.
communication which we created was on one congressman,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and the typical, stories of antics of that, etc. We copied
Uh-huh.
it to
Uh-huh.
showcase, and it has gone viral, okay, in a
Oh.
very very small budget, etc. It has gone viral, but it actually backfired, as in, those congressmen came to Story office, they ransacked the office,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
So it created lots of buzz
Oh.
for that
Oh.
government, etc.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the now to salvage that situation was quite challenging, but we
Uh-huh.
knew that it will come, because it was a digital thought. Okay, that was
Mm-hmm.
never the TVC, that was a digital film, and
Mm-hmm.
it create quite a furor for a moment, and it has given lots of visibility to the brand as well. But it was
Uh,
tough, it was very tough, handling when especially politics comes into your office.
oh yeah. Right.
Okay, and you got to handle that, but thankfully it actually went well and we could manage that situation, etc. In this process, what happened was, within a very limited budget, a single digit lakh budgets,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we could really create some furor, and the name was flashed onto lots of PR, etc. So
Okay.
not a good thing to do always, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you are pushed to the limit, we don't have much of the budgets, etc. You have to take those risks.
Mm. Right.
So that was a tough moment for me to handle.
Yeah.
But in the process, brand actually got some visibility and the noise, which was much needed.
So with this, we are moving to a little lighter section, which is rapid fire round, which will give our viewers to know you a little better, right? So the rules are you need to answer either in one word or as precise as possible here. Okay. So
Okay.
start.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite age so far?
Favorite age so far, 40. 40 is my favorite age.
Awesome. What is your favorite work memory?
Bisleri campaign, Bisleri Camel campaign.
What has changed the most since you have started working here, Nilons?
The markets, the consumer. I mean, the very, very different consumer and different markets. So
Okay.
the perspective for that market's actually completely changed.
So, what advice would you give an employee who has, joined and who is in their day one, first day of work?
Insights. I think you bring lots of insight in the marketing. You have a long way to go.
So, if you could not work in this industry, what profession would you pursue?
I would be a trekker. I would be
Oh,
pursuing trekking as a professional. Yeah, yeah.
amazing. Super. When are you most productive?
Earliest part of the day. Yeah,
First
the
up.
first 2 hours, 9 to 11.
What would you change about yourself?
I'm pretty happy with whatever I have.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I could have done much better. Okay, I could have done much better. I could have started thinking more creative at much younger age, because, by the way, I'm an engineer. So,
Oh, okay.
so I wasted 4 years of my life in doing engineering.
Awesome. Over the period of time, I have understood this part. These 4 years are not wasted time. These are your realization time. That what is your calling? Okay, go back to your calling. This is not something which you and as a human being, it's very important to know what we are not supposed to do. So I
Absolutely.
not
Yeah, I
not
understand.
wasted
I
time.
think probably the word competition I understood in engineering only.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so we are out of the rapid fire zone now. Before we wind up the conversation, Kiran, I want you to talk about, what is your message for aspiring marketers?
It's pretty simple. As I said, you bring more insights, so you have more better chances of making headways in marketing. Marketing is very very simple. It's not a rocket science at all. Okay, and it does not come. You don't need to be an MBA as well. Okay, only the perspective is required because most of the people misunderstand business and marketing. They are very different things. Okay, there is one business end and there is a marketing end. Marketing is all about the storytelling, and storytelling does not mean that you give any fact. Okay, it has to come from a very very genuine insights. Now, if you come up with the insights from the consumer and if we can translate those into the product and the marketing story, you have better chances. So that's my single advice to people: come up with the insights. Insight can come from any side. I mean, you don't need to sit into the office, etc. If you're coming from any background, any place, etc., insights are always there. Try to understand why somebody is doing this rather than understanding what. Most of the people actually confuse between insights and observations. Observation is what, but insight is why actually that happens,
Wow,
etc.
thanks for this
Now,
clarity.
if you actually bring those, even the person who is 10 years into the business, if he doesn't know, then you have the edge on it. Okay, that can be a maker or the breaker of the session for any strategy, etc.
Amazing, Kiran, and I'm glad that you have accepted and you came here. Such valuable content and such real, experience you have shared, which is going to help our viewers and listeners here. They are also from the marketing fraternity. They are from business school. There are a lot of people who are entrepreneurs and business owners, and these are the daily pain points for everybody. And when you share it with us, that's how it is going to help all of us. Yeah. So thanks for being here.